Yo, how's it going everybody? So I was lucky to play the closed beta to Final Fantasy Dissidia Duellum, and I want to share my thoughts with you guys, but first let's talk a little bit about the OG Dissidia games, Final Fantasy Dissidia and Final Fantasy Dissidia Duodecim. So the OG games play similar to like a 1v1 arena fighter. Your objective is to basically take your opponent out, and the way you do that is by using HP attacks to steal and accumulate bravery points by breaking your opponent. And the way you break your opponent is you completely take their bravery points, and then that's how you break them. And any kind of bravery points that your opponent has accumulated, it goes over to you. And then you can execute a bravery attack, which does damage to your opponent's health, as well as, eventually defeating them with multiple bravery attacks. So besides having an amazing fighting system with tons of crazy combo options and variety, the OG Dissidia games had an array of characters as well, and it's very interesting to watch their interactions. Those interactions are what made the game really special, especially for me. I got to see some of my favorite characters interact with each other. Characters like Zidane and Squall interacting, or even Tifa and Ultimisia interacting, they were just really cool and really awesome to see. Two characters from two different franchises with very different personalities interacting with each other. It was really great. It felt like Avengers Endgame or something. So yeah, it was pretty important back then. But yeah, so basically we got the Dissidia game first, and then later we ended up getting Dissidia Duodecim, which added more characters and a little bit more combat stuff. I think you can call assists and things like that. But yeah, we got Dissidia Duodecim, and then later we ended up getting Dissidia NT, which scrapped the 1v1 for a 3v3, and it was kind of like an arcade game that was ported to consoles, focusing more on team dynamics. And now we have Dissidia Duellum, a mobile game, so let's see what that's all about. So first, let's check out the story. So a mysterious crystal appears in modern day Tokyo, and corrupt monsters are coming out of the crystal. To battle these crystals, we have heroes from all over Final Fantasy that have been summoned to fight, and they have modern day clothings on and smartphones for communication. They fight the monsters and then disappear without a trace, giving them the title of ghosts. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. It sounds like there will be elements added to the story later, but for now, that's all we got. And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with having a very simple story to start off with, but I do feel like it needs to be expanded upon for people to really enjoy it. I know Kingdom Hearts did something similar with their mobile game where they expanded on the story with each iteration of the game and each, expanding the lore and stuff. So it'd be great to see them do the same thing with this. Now, as far as gameplay goes, it's a 3v3 PvP. The main objective is to kill these boss monsters on the field, which are classic Final Fantasy monsters like Behemoth and Malboro. The first team to kill the boss monster wins the match. To damage the boss monster, you have to accumulate bravery points, or your character does, and reach the break limit, which is 9,999. So to reach the break limit, you basically have to control as many giant crystals on the field, which will give you break points to reach that break limit. But yeah, you gotta make sure your opponent doesn't control as many as you do, and by doing so, your character can then damage the boss monster and execute bravery attacks, which basically are like the character's special moves. Crystals are usually guarded by lesser minion monsters, and sometimes players will fight the opposing team near a crystal because you need the crystals for those bravery points. So when I played the beta, I chose Terra. I thought she was a pretty good character. She's a ranged mage character who uses a bunch of abilities to kind of suppress the enemy from coming towards the crystal. She has some support abilities, so I thought she was a good balance to try out. There are also melee characters. For instance, Cloud and Lightning are melee characters, and you also have characters like Warrior of Light who are support characters. Renoa and Prompto are range fighting characters. So there's a lot of variety to choose from as far as character types go. As far as the attacks in the game, they look really nice, and each character has unique attacks. Some characters have attacks that are definitely stronger than other characters. Character and camera movements are a bit annoying in battle. It was difficult for me to use the D-pad on the left to control the character direction, while using the right hand to swipe up for abilities and camera positions. Balancing this came pretty tricky, so there were times where I missed the enemy because I was turning around, and times where my character wouldn't lock onto the correct target to auto attack. This definitely frustrated me, and I was kind of pissed throughout my playthrough. The other thing that frustrated me was the sheer amount of gacha this game has. Characters are gacha based, abilities are also gacha based. So what that means is characters, you have to pull them and roll for them. Same thing with your character's abilities. Once you get a character, you have to roll and pull for those abilities. So it's a bummer when you're already playing and there's someone who's overpowered in the early game and they just completely wipe you because they had a lot of rolls and were able to roll for the character's really good abilities, and B, because they were actually lucky enough to get those abilities. Not to mention, there are certain characters that just have better abilities than other characters. For instance, Cloud and Lightning have abilities that give them invincible frames for some of their attacks, which means that they can't take damage. And once characters get these attacks, they are so powerful, they basically win the matches. But not all characters have attacks with invincible frames, so I feel like that's definitely going to be impacting the meta of the game, and we're going to be seeing more teams with just characters that have those attacks that give them the advantage in battle. The game, in my opinion, does seem more fun if you're playing with people like a group of friends or something, but after playing it solo for a while, I did lose interest. I want to say the main reason was because of the thought that even if I grind, someone might have a character who's just better than the character I have. They have a better moveset, they have better moves, and I feel like I didn't want to spend a lot of time trying to unlock and get to that level because, you know, time is of the essence nowadays, and I have very little time to play games, and I didn't want to invest into something that was going to frustrate me or feel like work. Now let's talk a little bit about the art style. I feel like the Final Fantasy characters are very well developed in this 3D anime art style. It's a departure from the 3D realism, and although we've seen characters in the 3D anime art style before in the Dissidia series, here the models are more vibrant and stylized. The only issue I have is with the new modern clothing / streetwear. For some of the characters it really works, like Lightning and Renoa. However, for Cloud and Warrior Light, I wasn't too impressed. Especially for Cloud, someone who is ex-soldier, you'd think they would have him wearing something more flowy and combat ready because he's a military guy. He's probably going to be prepared for battle and want something that he's going to be able to move in. However, they were like, hey, let's give Cloud skinny jeans and a tie, and I just thought that was really goofy for especially someone like Cloud. It made me feel like they were going for like this punk rockstar wannabe vibe, and I really didn't enjoy it. I would much rather have him wearing baggy jeans, a hoodie, a sling bag or something to carry combat essentials. I don't know why he would wear a tie, like a tie of all things, but I digress. The visuals as far as the gameplay goes are amazing, attacks are crisp and the particle effects look really sick, special moves are cinematic and exciting to look at, and the music is essentially just reworked remixes for character themes and classics, but it's always fun to hear new renditions of the oldies. Now, as far as my collective thought on the beta, it's an okay game. Like, I want to see Square Enix succeed, but they really need to listen to player feedback. Now, I don't know what the story is like, and I don't know if many people play mobile games for the story, but if they do, then Square Enix has some time to come up with an epic story. However, they still need to fix and work on some of the gacha and grinding stuff in this game, along with the controls and camera issues. I like the art style, music, and even though we have characters in new clothing, I can look past that if the combat is fair and balanced. My fear is that the game's going to end up like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, where the meta and teams start looking the same because everyone wants to play the best character. And so we get a bunch of Clouds, Lightnings, and God knows who else. So I feel like seeing more match variety is something they definitely need to consider if they want this game to succeed. But then again, this is Square Enix mobile game and they don't have a good track record with those. So I'm gonna wait and see if they actually make some decent changes before investing. But as always, I would rather have y'all play the game and make your own decision. I feel like this would have been a really good game to take to console and really hone in and make it better from the original Dissidia game, taking inspiration from Duellem, Dissidia, OG, and even maybe NT. Like, I really hope this isn't some kind of cash grab for Square, you know, to make this game and make a quick buck from people who are going to invest and spend money to get characters and get abilities and really rank up, and then boom, one day they cancel the game. That would really suck because I really liked the first Soldier game and I spent a pretty good amount of time playing that only to have that gone. And I don't want to see the same thing happen to a loving franchise like Dissidia. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below if you guys are interested in Dissidia Duellum, the mobile game, or should it have gone to console? Are you familiar with the Dissidia franchise from Square Enix? If you are, let me know down in the comments below which Dissidia game you played and who was your favorite character and why. Until next time, y'all, I'll catch you later. Peace out.